Hey there, welcome to Mastermind Gameplay. Today, we're going to see if we can make it to space on our own elevator. I mean, who wants to spend all the time creating a huge elevator just to get to space? Here is our little Hector Vector. It's a pretty simple drone that will fly us to space, but we won't really be controlling anything. It has very basic setup, multiple hydrogen thrusters. It has a drone controller, the typical antenna, a few event controllers, recorder, and you have a basic light move. It is connected to my grid here with a small connector. We'll try to fly it up there somewhere in the clouds. I'm pretty sure I have a base. Hopefully it didn't go anywhere else. Afterwards, in the next video, I'll show you how to program one of these drones to do the same thing. Essentially, we can fly this one, after we program it, directly to the same location, and then all you have to do is hit the repeat button, and it'll take you to and from whatever space-based system that you have, back to the Earth, or back to space. So, before we get started, let me just kind of give you an overview of the controls. You do have to remote control this because this is just a passenger seat. Unfortunately, when you're connected to the grid, it doesn't stand out for us. So we're going to have to go and find its small connector and disconnect it, or unlock it if you may. Then it'll show up on our remote access list again. So this is the SE, or Space Elevator Connector. And make sure my event controllers overall are set up. Let's see, this one is connector is ready to lock. The SE connector that we're about to disconnect. And our action is going to be this timer block 2. It's going to trigger it now. This is because once it closes, we also turn on our thrusters. So if we go to the SE timer block 2, we can look at the setup actions here. And we have the thrusters are going to be turned on. Then it's going to close the door. And it's going to toggle our event controller 1 back off. The first event controller we have is actually going to auto-connect your small connector. And we don't necessarily want to do that because it'll automatically connect right after we disconnect. And then your door will come up and your thrusters turn off again. But just for the heck of it, we're going to turn this on and I'll show you how it works. This is also a connector ready to lock, just like the door closed. So that's where the problem comes in. It's also the same connector, but this one is operating the first timer block, which is pretty much the reverse order. So on SE timer block 1, our setup actions are the small connector is going to be locked. Then it's going to trigger timer block 3, and then the hydrogen thrusters are turned off. So finally, timer block 3, we go to setup actions, and all that does is open the door so we can get back out of this darn thing once we are connected. And that's about it. These event controllers are going to be triggered in our space-based platform as they are on the Earth-based platform. The SE connector we're going to try out was unlocked, and as you can see, our hydrogen thrusters turned off and this hatch closed, but I'm not sure why it does it. It automatically reopens again, as if my fat head just pushes it back. If we go back to the auto connect, it did turn it off. So I don't think that's the cause. Anyways, We are essentially locked back into the grid because our auto connect was on and then it turned back off, so we're just going to unlock again. This may seem tedious, but I think you'll have a better understanding by going over the little faults that this thing does create. Now, if we move away from the platform just slightly, we'll go back. We have to recontrol it, the Hector vector. And we don't want to move too far because I have already recorded the waypoints for its movement. So if you go to your AI flight move, you can see that it's disabled. If you have your AI behavior on, you can't manually move it or remote operate the ship. So be sure to turn it on and off each time. We have our collision avoidance off. And our precision mode on. Next, for this, I set my speed limit to 100. But if I'm aiming to go to the platform, I'm getting close to it, I put it around 10. My max pitch, max roll is 10 because we really don't want to be flipped over or anything. And of course, align to your planet's gravity. For the AI recorder, it's pretty much the same way. We have it on. We want to show the blocks. And we have it show on HUD. And make sure you go to Info, Show AI Functions. This should actually show you the points that you have in the path you're going to take. Unfortunately, sometimes it glitches and it doesn't show you each time. Also, you have to have the Show Path on HUD and show selected points highlighted for it to show you the path. But again, it should immediately show you, and it does not. AI behavior also has to be on. You can repeat this process, and these are the selected waypoints. We are going to go through each waypoint, but not manually. We're just more or less going to watch it go through it as we fly up. You can also add individual actions in between each waypoint. So say you get to this connector after you've connected and you want to transfer ore or whatever you want from whatever component you have, you can use it kind of like your event controller or timer block. And then you simply add another waypoint here and there as you go through the process. Minimum distance, I just keep it at 1 meter. And you record interval. It's really the time between each point in which you're recording, so they're not on top of each other in a sense. I think that's about it for this section. So if we hit this play button, we should launch off. And there it is. Now remember, this is at 100 ms, so it's going to be traveling fairly quick. But it's trying to get to my first waypoint. The problem is, the first waypoint is actually at the space station. So, even though we're flying directly to the first one, we definitely don't want to start off at the first one, because when we start at the first one, it's just going to reverse and come back. You may want to. Maybe it's the fastest way to get there. But I find that you might actually crash into things by doing that also. We're just going to stop it here. Turn off the AI behavior. And what you do is you hit this reverse order, and now it'll start at waypoint 12, where you can see it highlighted. All we need to do is make our way back to waypoint 12, which is about a half a meter above that original small connector at this station. So, if you're looking forward to trying out your own system, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because in the next videos, I'm going to go over how you can actually build your own space elevator, or basically a free ride to get wherever you want. And then I'm also going to show something I've been working on for a while, where your drone will automatically swap out tools. So you can swap it for a welder, a grinder, or even a drill, and then have it fly back and perform that function as soon as it gets to that location again. Of course, that'll be 2 videos from now, but it's still good to subscribe to make sure you don't miss out on it. You may have noticed that now our waypoints are actually showing. I do not know why it does this, but there seems to be a little glitch in the programming. As you can see, now we're at the very beginning again. Even though it says 1, 2, 3, for some reason it's actually 12, 11, 10. Those are going to be the ones that is going to, though, is 1, 2, 3 first. So it's not actually the number of the waypoint, it's showing you the order of the waypoints in which it's going to go because you reverse the order. And yeah, it does get kind of confusing. So let's go ahead and try to sit this back down. Believe it or not, the computer is a little bit faster than I am at actually reconnecting with the connector. Okay. Now we've hit this point where we have shut off our thrusters. Of course, the hatch is kind of backwards now, so we have to reshut that. We'll fly up just a little bit. And then we're going to turn off this auto connect and engage our AI flight move, and you see it kind of bobble there, but it's not going anywhere yet. Then AI task recorder, and you just simply hit play as long as it says waypoint 12. It's going to go back to the original waypoint, but then after that it's all automatic. So right now I'm not touching the controls at all. This is doing its own thing. It does take a little while to get to space, so for the most part this is fast forwarded. But you can see here on your recorder, it is heading towards waypoint 8. And of course, it'll count down from there, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, etc. If you enjoyed the view, you can kind of look around, but since this took me approximately 15 to 20 minutes to get to my other space platform, I decided to go do other things around my house and then come back while this was recording. You'll see in a minute. As we're flying through, this section is actually 5 times the speed of which it was recorded, so you could imagine if you played it at regular speed how long it would take. If you've ever gone from the Earth-like planet to space, you'll have a general idea. But with this, like I said, you can go off and do other things, focus on other things, and not have to really worry about your character getting to space because your elevator is doing everything for you. Pretty convenient. The downside is, this thing, if it was not in creative mode, if it's in survival mode, is going to burn up all your hydrogen. On this design, we do have a hydrogen and oxygen generator, but there's no way it's going to keep up with as much as this stuff adjusts. This thing spews out more hydrogen than any other ship I've seen so far. On creative mode, it doesn't seem to be a problem because there's an endless amount of hydrogen. You don't actually need hydrogen tanks or anything like that. As we get to the top here, again, I am not controlling any part of this. We are simply watching it take every action. As we get closer, you can see the points in the distance. That's where I go in. And I change this AI flight move maximum speed way back down to 10 again. Because if you keep it at 100 ms, you will crash into your building. There it is. As you record points, however you record at the point, For the most part, AI tries to match whatever position your craft was in the first place. So whichever angle it is. For example, I am not rotating this, but AI automatically rotated it to be able to fit through the doors as when I first programmed it. And then we go all the way to the connector, and it should lock in place, but I don't think I turned on the autocorrect. We're not quite lined up. Over such a long distance, you may have a bit of a finicky elevator depending on what kind of maneuvers you do ahead of time. If it's kind of tricky where it has to turn, twist, move up and down before it actually lands, that's where it becomes an issue. Also, remember to turn off your AI before you try to move, because otherwise you're just locked in one position and you can't actually control it. Let's see. Nope. It did not lock. It's ready to lock, but it did not lock. So I must have a different setting on here stopping it. Anyways, the purpose of this was once it connects to the small connector, an event controller reads that and automatically closes your airtight hangar doors and starts pressurizing the inside of this space station. And then, of course, since we're not locked, it doesn't really matter. I don't know if it'll trigger the door or not. There are a few bugs here and there, but if you want to try to build your own and mess with it, you'll probably be able to fix it or might run into the same issues. Yeah. It's got to be on the control for the space station. Let me check on this door over here. Oh, didn't want to open it. So my small connector, as you can see, it turned itself off, probably because of the event controller setting. But it doesn't matter. It's just a basic example. You can set up your space station any way you desire. So let's open this hatch again. Make sure auto connect is on. And it does not connect, so it must turn it off every time it senses us. Well, it worked the first few times. I'm not sure what I changed on my settings, but obviously I missed something here. It looks like it did trigger the doors to open, so maybe we'll just leave it at that, and I'll come back and try to figure it out later on. I did put this handy dandy button on the back of this space elevator in order to open the hatch, instead of having a remote in just to open the hatch. And I'm basically resetting these because our door closed isn't going to work if we're not able to disconnect. AI recorder on. Close the hatch. AI recorder again. I forgot to reverse this. So again, you want to select the reverse order so it starts back at the first position. And you'll see it highlighted here. Oop. Forgot to turn on the AI behavior. Oh, I guess that is on. Oh, maybe it's the AI flight move is not on. There it is. Fairly simple setup though. And it automatically maneuvers you back. It's going to go for a certain distance to my next waypoint. Then it'll automatically turn like this and head directly to our base. In order to make it a shorter trip, we're definitely going to crank this baby up. Unfortunately, even though you put it at 100 ms, typically it only goes to about 30 or 40. It really depends on how close together your waypoints are. So if you have waypoints that are, say, less than 200 meters or so, it's going to go slow to that next meter as long as it's already going slow. If it was speeding up to that waypoint and trying to get to the next short waypoint, you may overspeed. But if you start out slow, it'll go slow. Ideally, since it's approximately 40,000 meters from where our base is, I set them all approximately 10,000 meters from each other. But then there's a lot of other really close waypoints. That's why it comes out to 12. As you can see, even showing you, I adjusted it again to 100. Although we were past certain points, it's still only going to go to about 30 or 40 ms max when you're descending. When we're ascending to space, for some reason it goes a lot faster. Make sure your auto connect is back on. And you want to turn this speed back down since we're so close to our other station again. This is a fully automatic system. All I'm doing is essentially rotating the camera so you can see as it's moving. Otherwise, everything else goes on its own. It does take a little bit, and it makes me nervous every time it does this, but so far it has worked every time on the Earth-based platform. Except for that darn hinge for the door. I'm not sure on that thing at all. Again, we don't show up because we are officially connected to our base. So we'll just have to go up here, manually reverse that hinge so we can get the heck back out of this space elevator. Well, that's about it. It's fairly simple. We made it to space somewhere up there and came all the way back in one piece. That doesn't always happen. Sometimes there's multiple pieces that come back with us. Imagine we're going to take this looking bubble thing up to space on the next video. And then this is going to be only used on the Earth-like planet because it's atmospherically thrusting. But I should be able to demonstrate how to either drill, weld, or grind. And trust me, there were actual tools sitting there before. I'm not really sure what happened to them. Anyways, as always, thanks for watching the video, and please feel free to leave your tips and tricks in the comment section for everyone. I appreciate it.